Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Some Sadducees, those who deny that there is a resurrection, came forward and put this question to Jesus, saying, "Teacher, Moses wrote for us, if someone's brother dies leaving a wife but no child, his brother must take the wife and raise up the descendants for his brother. Now there were 7 brothers. The first married a woman but died childless. Then the second and the third married her, and likewise all the 7 died childless. Finally the woman also died. Now at the resurrection, whose wife will that woman be? For all 7 had been married to her." Jesus said to them, "The children of this age marry and remarry, but those who are deemed worthy to attain the coming age and to the resurrection of the dead neither marry nor are given in marriage. They can no longer die, for they are like angels, and they are the children of God because they are the ones who will rise. That the dead will rise, even Moses made known the passage about the bush, when he called out, 'Lord, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob.' And he is not the God of the dead, but of the living. For to him all are alive." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
We're all pretty comfortable with the resurrection, or at least the idea of the resurrection. It's pretty high aspect of our Catholic faith that, we will die, but we believe we will also rise from the dead at the end of time itself when our Lord comes again. But that wasn't a common belief before Christ. Like, it was something that was kind of being tossed around. Maybe some had an idea, but it wasn't like a doctrine of the Jewish faith per se. So, but it was there, it was looming. So that's kind of the context of what's going on here today when our Lord speaks to this. He speaks to this situation. The Sadducees, they didn't believe in the resurrection, right? It says right here, the Sadducees who deny there is a resurrection. So they're posing this question to our Lord. Okay, but you take there are some that do believe in the resurrection, and we go to our first reading in the book of Maccabees. What catches me in this very descriptive scene of these 7 brothers who were tortured to death instead of denying their faith, they all have this common theme of hey, I'm gonna rise again. You can take my life, but I'm gonna rise again. And this, the last guy's cut off my hands, I'll receive him back. So they got this clear understanding of the resurrection of the body. That just, like I said, we take it for granted. They didn't back then. I mean, it was still kind of in the loom. So that's kind of the perspective, or the context at least, of where our Lord is coming from. And so the Sadducees pose this question: "Hey, Lord, the 7 brothers married this one woman. None of them had children. Whose wife is she going to be in the resurrection?" So our Lord dispels their argument by saying, "Hey, we neither marry nor are given in marriage in the resurrection." So it's an interesting component of the resurrection that we're not married to each other like we are here. Okay, we're fully in union with God, so to speak. But it just brings to light some of the nature of the resurrection. But one part of this gospel that always intrigues me is when our Lord says, "So the children of this age that are worthy of the resurrection neither marry nor are given in marriage. They can no longer die." All right? And I'm like, they can no longer die. What does that have to do with the resurrection? So it makes me think of the nature of marriage, actually, and the nature of vocations in general. That, in general in life, we're born to die. It's just the logical conclusion of life. But there are steps along the way, baptism, one of them. We die in order to rise to new life. But then also our vocation. We lay down our life in order to live for the other. So love, it's a total gift of self. We give of ourselves for the other. So our Lord models this on the cross. We think of in the book of Ephesians, St. Paul says, husbands, love your wives like Christ loved the church, who gave himself up for her. So like he died in order to live for the church, you and I. Okay, so that's, you think of others, our Lord himself says, no greater love hath a man than to lay down his life for his friends. Okay, true love is a giving of self. So, part of our fallen human nature is that we're selfish. It's just how it is. We live for ourselves. So that's why the Lord give us a vocation to force us to live for someone else, like your spouse. Okay, it's the same with the priesthood. So, like when we're ordained a priest, before we're ordained, right before we're ordained, we lay flat on the floor, prostrate on the floor. It's an image of like dying to self in order to live for God, live for, his people, to serve, to give of ourselves. Okay, if we don't land in those vocations, we just live for ourselves. So these are great ways to help us to die to self in order to live for the other. So that's kind of what I think our Lord is getting at here a little bit. But even all those vocations, marriage in particular, like it's ordered towards heaven. So the nature of marriage is to get your spouse to heaven. Okay, we're going to love each other in order to show each other the nature of God's love and help them get to heaven, But there is this component at the altar when you take your vows, like until death do we part. Okay, I've got you to your goal, now God bless. No, I mean, there's communion in heaven. I don't want to be all, we're not together. But that is the attainment of our goal. And so then our Lord can say, hey, the children in heaven, they never give in marriage nor receive marriage because they can no longer die. You don't need to die anymore because you've attained your goal. So I don't know if I've lost you or not, but I think there's something mysterious here that throughout our life we're given opportunities to die to self in order to live for another. It's just good. The more that's where love is found, that total gift of self. And so then when we perfected that throughout our lives, ideally, then when we go to heaven, there's no need to die. We're already trained. We're already trained in love, so we can just receive and give love for eternity. Okay, it's a little mysterious, but I think it's a little bit part of both the resurrection and the nature of our vocations. That they train us to love, they train us to die in order to live for the other. So, let's take advantage of those opportunities. They're given to us all the time, especially in our vocations. Priesthood, marriage, whatever your vocation is. There are opportunities to, formally give of ourselves to the other, die to self in order to live for the other, so that we may follow the nature of love that Christ held out for us. No greater love hath a man than to lay down his life for his friends.